Hello everyone. Finally, we have Entity Relationship Modeling, ERM. And this one is based on what we have learned so far with the ERD and the NCS part. So what do we need to have in here? We need to discuss entities, attributes, and keys to be used with those entities, relationship between different entities, type of relationship is one-to-many, one-to-one, many-to-many, and finally notations. Once you understand all these fives, you will be able directly to jump and design your database. So let us see the type of entities. When we talk about entities, you might have a person, place, thing, or event. Keep in your mind the following. When you will try to build or to design a database, you need to attend usually an interview or a meeting. In that meeting, you already have a list of questions. The questions include some question directly might be asked to direct manager, others to the department managers, others to the employees. You need to understand how the data flow is running through the building. You need to understand who has what kind of privilege to access to what kind of documentation are in there. Can you take a copy of what's already available in those documentations? So you need to gather a lot of information, and then according to that, you will start to design your system. So your system is not going to be something like someone already defined entities or defined events and attributes to you. You, according to all the information you already gathered, you need to set the right database design according to that. So one of the methods which can be followed is this one, the ERM. With this one, first you need to define your entities. And as we had talked, the entity can be one of these four. You need to name the entity. You need to give it a description. You need also to define the range of values. If there is a value for the entity, maybe it has a value from 1 to 10. The quantity, number of allowable instances of this entity, and the growth, whether the number of instances of particular entity is fixed or it can be increased in the future. This is what you need to determine once you define your entity. Then once you're done with your entities, next step is to define the attributes for the entity. So if I have a person, is it employee? I need to provide now information relating to the entity. I need to know the first name, last name, gender, date of birth, and some other information, phone number, email address, etc. If it is a place, I need now to define type of a place, street address, city, telephone number. If it is an event, again, I need to find the attributes. And if it is a hardware, like here think, which is a computer, type of it, manufacturer, serial number, location, etc. So all these informations, they are very important to my database. They should be in there through the definition of the attributes. Then you need to define the key. Like here, each employee, I want to present him or give him a unique key, should not be repeated. So this is something you need to define it. And maybe for the places, how many campuses do you have? Each campus has its own unique ID and so on. So the key is supposed to be configured in there. And you need also to configure or keep in your mind about the configuration of the foreign key. Sometimes one person can access to more than one computer. So both of them entities. Now the computer or the user in here has his own key. The computer has its own key, but more than one user or the same user can access to more than one computer. So what kind of definition that you might link it between the user and the computers? The relationship here also is going to play part of the work. Is it one-to-one? It is one-to-many. It is many-to-many. Many users can access to many computers. Also that need to be taken into consideration. And according to that, you need also to define exactly what kind of key to be used in this relationship. Now, just to fully understand the difference between a primary key and the foreign key, a primary key is an attribute in the entity, and that attribute is the main attribute, and you are going to set a data on that attribute, and that data cannot be replicated or repeated in any other entity attributes, which is, for example, a person ID. If I give it number 1, then another person should get number 2, number 3, and so on. You cannot give one to more than one user. This is the primary key. With the foreign key, the definition of it, just to fully understand it, the foreign key is the attribute or combination of attributes in one entity whose values are the same as values of the primary key in another. I can give you a quick example for that. Let us have this example to understand exactly the difference between the primary key and the foreign key. Now I will assume I want to design a database. My main entity is student, and the student might enroll to one or more than one courses. So if I want to design an initial database, it's going to be like this. Student ID, this is the primary key for student, it should not be repeated. So here maybe I will have key number 1, For the first student, key again, number 1 for the same student, key number 1 for the same student. But this is not going to work. Why? I will assume here, if my student want to enroll to more than one courses, then according to this design, I need to give the student here in addition to the number and the course name. Here we can say this is course ID, or there is no ID yet. No need for course ID in this design. We have the course name and date of enrollment. This is the main design. The problem now with this design, if my student want to enroll to more than one course, then I should keep like mention his name here, repeat his name many times, repeat his ID if we have it. Then I need to mention here the course name and the date of enrollment and the same. If he enrolled to 10, then his name is going to be repeated 10 times and the student ID repeated also 10 times. And because this is a primary key, there is a condition, the key cannot repeat it. So in that case, if I need to modify this design, what I will say fine. Instead of like this, then I can make it in one record, student ID name, course name, DOE. And again, I will add again course name. And again, here we have date of enrollment for the second time. And I can keep repeat course name, date of enrollment, and so on. But for how many times? I'll just make this example now. Copy, paste. So I will assume the students might enroll up to 5 courses. Here I have the first student, Sarah. Sarah, the course name, for example, object-oriented programming, date of enrollment, anything in 2019. Now, the second course she enrolled to it, I will assume it is C#. Date of enrollment 2020, and the other course here finally is Visual Basic, and the date of enrollment is 2021, and that's it. She decided not to enroll to any more courses. So what about these? These are going to be null, and the record is in there and is going to take some space. And again, this second design is not good for me. So the first design, like I will repeat the name of the student, is not going to work for me because the student ID is supposed not to be replicated. And also here I will have a redundancy of her name, keep appears in all the records. This is something I don't want. And the other problem is if I make this second design, I will assume we have 5 courses and she decides to enroll only to 3 courses. Then in that case, again, I have another problem. The last 2 courses fields are null, but there is a space being saved in the database for these records. So again, this is not going to work. And what if she decides to join 10 courses? How we are going to process this query, because here we have up to 5 courses. So because of that, it's better now to create the normalization. And this normalization, I will split the information to 2 tables. The first table is student ID, name for the student. And in here, I will just add the course ID and DOE, but not now. And in the second table, we have course ID and course name. Let us take these, put them here, and let us have these 2 and put them here. Now, what I can do to solve the problem, student ID definitely is going to be now a primary key for this table, the student information. So that table, the background is supposed to be yellow, just to make it primary key. For the courses, each course has now a course ID. Again, this one is going to be yellow. So these yellows are the primary key. The name is an information, which is not a key, so I'll make it in green. And also the course name here, I will make it in green. So I'll assume the following now. We have the first student is Sarah, second student is Peter, third student Ellen. And with the course ID now, the first course ID is object-oriented programming. Now the second course ID is for C#, and the third course ID is for Visual Basic. Okay. Now, if I want to create a table of attendance, I need to do it like this. The table, we put student ID, and in the second column, we put course ID, and then we just need to add date of enrollment. So what can I say? I can say for Sarah, her student ID is number 1. She wants to attend object-oriented programming, which is course 1, and the date of enrollment, as we see in here, 2019. Then Sarah again, she attend the second course, which is the C#, so it is number 2, and the date of enrollment is 2020. And finally, Sarah again want to attend the third course, which is 2021. So if you take a look, the student ID here, how I'm going to find the information relating to Sarah is by match the student ID, I have it in this table, with the student ID in the enrollment table. The student ID on enrollment table is be allowed to be replicated as we see. So in that case, the student ID in enrollment table is not a primary key. It is what we call it a foreign key. So that's why I will give it another color, blue. And of course, you can link now this student ID with this student ID. So later, you can build your own code. With that code, you can retrieve back the information of student, the information of course, and the date of enrollment, and you can put the full information in a report. So this is how the design is going to work, and this is how you link the primary key with a foreign key. So the data is going to match, and by this you will know exactly now Sarah for how many courses that she enrolled. If I want you to create a query now to retrieve back the courses only for Sarah she enrolled with, what I will do, her main primary key in the table, I need to match it with the foreign key in student ID in the enrollment table, and by this I will know exactly how many courses she attended. And the same here with the course ID, because you might have a chance that for Peter, his student ID is number 2. He attended also the object-oriented programming in 2019, and for Ellen, attend again object-oriented programming in 2021. And now if I want you to give me back a report for all students who they enrolled to the object-oriented programming in all years, then again in this case you need to match the course ID here, which is a primary key, with the course ID here, which is a foreign key because I allow the value to be replicated. And by this I can then reach to the student ID, and through the student ID I will access to their information, and I can print out all the students who they enroll to the object-oriented programming course. So this is exactly the difference between the primary and foreign key. I hope you get it. And anyway, I'm supposed to explain it in the lab, but now because we already explained it, then later it will be easy to design it. Thanks for watching.